or 5. So a few days after that, being in the library and that kind of just heart-throbbing experience, where I realized that now I was committed to, like, the next time someone says, how are you doing? I was going to be honest instead of plastering on my normal smile and just acting like I was Wonder Woman. So I was at a place and got into a conversation with somebody that I respect, but that I would have normally wanted to impress and just always put my best foot forward. And that person asked me how I was doing or something. And I got teary-eyed because I was like, okay, okay, God, here we go. If you know what I'm talking about, like, it's like game on. And I said, I think it's kind of even hard for me to say it now. I think I'm struggling with some depression. And that person was a good listener. They're the kind of person that's a safe person, we can talk about in another video. And they were a good listener. And unknown to me, they were already in their recovery journey. So this was a perfect matchup. And they said something, and I took it a step beyond what I even thought, beyond admitting that I was struggling and that I thought I was depressed. I said, I think it's tied to me being sexually abused. And I probably smiled when I said it, like that's something you should smile about, but that helped me. Smiling a lot helped me to say things that were difficult. And that person said, I go to some meetings, and they were recovery meetings. And I'm just gonna say it because Celebrate Recovery is fixing my hat. Celebrate Recovery is a national and also global. Celebrate Recovery comes out of AA. They're both great programs. Just some people, AA fits their needs better, and for some people, Celebrate Recovery, or CR for short, meets their needs. She's already going to recovery meetings. I got scared. I'm like, oh my gosh, my back is up against the wall now. Like, I said something, and lo and behold, here's a whole helpful thing laid out right before me. And I started to backpedal, and I said, okay, yeah, those meetings. And I said, but I've been to something like that before, and I'm sure that that they didn't have, and I'm sure this one doesn't have, and I'm sure they don't have small groups for women who've been sexually abused. Thought I got out of that one. And she said, actually, they do. And I was like, I probably said damn under my breath or something. Excuse my language, but I was like, okay, all right. So into that conversation, walking down the hallway just in a oh my gosh, like God just delivered me a miracle. And I'm walking down the stairs, and there's a lady sitting. Yeah, a lady sitting down at the bottom of the stairs, and she goes, hey, how you doing? And I said, okay. I wasn't ready to get into another deep conversation, but she paused and she said, I know this sounds really weird, but the Holy Spirit is telling me I need to ask you, how are you really doing? Yeah. And I was like, well, since you mention it. And I went on to tell her. So that's how I came out of the closet of denial. Well, that's several layers of coming out of denial, but that's how I came out of the big one. That was the big push. The big thing was just, and I noticed that pattern of when I put on that smile and that Wonder Woman pretense, I was not going anywhere. It's like my prayers were bouncing off the ceiling, and it's like God was like, I mean, he was there, but he was like, no, there's nothing there coming out of that. But whenever I was just honest, and I guess you want to call it authentic, that's when stuff started changing a little bit at a time. Okay, so I don't know what it is for you that's going to get you like off the couch, so to speak, or out of bed, so to speak, or out of the dark dungeon or basement of, the darkness, just isolation. That's what I would call it. I don't know what's going to help get you out of isolation where I was and you were the only ones trapped inside of our minds, trapped inside of our hearts, dealing with the weight of the world. I know it's terrifying. I know it feels safer to stay isolated and alone, and because at least you're alone with your problems, and there's no one that's going to judge you or tell you how to fix it, because who likes that? But I also know that unless you're linked up with some other people, safe people, it's just really not going to get better. Like, I never see it work where if you're in isolation that you can fix your own problems. I never see that work. And I'll end with this phrase that has come in my head just different times. It's nothing great to write home about, but I would say to myself, because at first I wanted to be isolated and I was terrified of people. And then over a year, 2 years, 3 years, I realized that there was something about people that I had to have, or I was going to die, basically, in my depression. So I would say people are the poison, or people were the poison, but people are the antidote. So like people were the poison, they may have been some of the reason why I was in depression, but they are the antidote. So they're both. People are good and bad everywhere. There's good to people, there's bad to people, and I was having to learn how to connect to the good. So I think in my next thing, I will just kind of give a really kind of brief about Celebrate Recovery and going to a meeting and what that felt like.